there's a few different places to post your job listing. If you aren't already using some sort of job board, or I don't know whether you have something on your company website. A lot of these work at home people, a good place, these are good places to reach them, so it might be better to post your job in these areas than on your company website or other places. But I would post jobs on Craigslist, and if I posted a work at home telesales job on Craigslist, I would probably get about 100 resumes. A little bit into my experience with hiring work at home agents, I came across a work at home mom website. So it's wham.com, and there's a forum on there that you can post jobs in, actually free. So it was pretty nice. And I would probably get, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 resumes from that. You can also find contract and work at home people on Odesk. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. So those are some places that you can post your job. You do have the option when you're hiring a virtual person. You could do offshore or domestic, meaning U.S. I mean, I'm based in the U.S., and so when I say domestic, I'm referring to the U.S. But primarily with my business, I only really use domestic resources. I dabbled a little bit with offshore. The good thing about offshore, meaning international, is the cost savings. So you can pay as little as $2 to $5 per hour. So if you like, a lot of times I would have salespeople that would try to hire my company to do their cold calling, and I would always direct them, go hire someone from the Philippines. If you're paying out of your paycheck to hire someone to do cold calling, which is a more limited budget than hiring someone out of a company payroll or sales and marketing budget, this is what I would recommend probably is offshoring. The challenges with that is the phone quality, could sometimes be a challenge. Although voice over IP has gotten so good that I mean, I get calls all the time from. I can tell it's the Philippines or overseas because of the accent, but I can't tell because of the phone quality. But sometimes you can have phone issues. But I think the accent is a concern. I think the Philippines kind of has the least accent. They speak English very well, but sometimes you could have some cultural differences, but those aren't major. Domestic is just more expensive, but you should probably get better quality. Not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of bad. You'll get a lot of resumes from people that you would never want representing your company. I mean, that's with hiring anything, right? I mean, you just sort of have there's a lot of people out there that don't fit, that will apply for a job that don't fit well. Not to say anything about them and what they would be qualified for, but you'll just get a lot of resumes for people that don't fit well with what you're trying to hire. And that happens on both, but I found overall the quality of work was for this type of job was better from the U.S. But try either if you want. Now this is a slide that you might glaze over, you might tune out because maybe you're not there yet, but this is actually something that transformed my operation when I was hiring work-at-home agents. So it's really important and to take into consideration, in my opinion. But before I go through these steps, let me just explain to you. I told you when I post a job on Craigslist, I would get 100 resumes. Now, at this point, regardless of your role in a company, whether you're a business owner, or a salesperson, or whatever, let's just assume you're extremely busy, right? We're all busy. We have stuff to do. So now you're looking at 100 resumes. And so now you start to go through the resumes, and you're flipping through them looking for someone that looks good. You see some experience that looks good, you give them a call, you leave them a voicemail, you play phone tag. They end up calling you back, and you hear their voice, and you're like, oh, I would never want this person making calls for me, or there's just all this back and forth, and you're moving very slowly, right? Because you're looking at all these resumes and you're calling these people one at a time. So what I did is, in talking with someone, I got this idea to basically set up to automate the first step of the interview process. And what I basically did is I used actually a different recording system, but you could use what I'm showing you here, which is to use a voicemail box. So what you will do is you'll set up a dedicated phone number in this. There's some different ways to do this, but basically you set up a phone number that goes to a voicemail box, and when you get those 100 resumes, for every resume that you get, you're going to so step one is to set up the voicemail box dedicated for this job position. In the greeting, you could maybe share an explanation of the job position, or you could say a couple questions for them to answer in the greeting to the voicemail box. Step two is post your job. Step three is you're going to receive, let's say you receive 100 resumes from applicants. Now, you're going to reply to every email you get. You don't even look at the resume because that's wasting time. Don't even look at the resume. To every email you get, you copy and paste a message that says, "Thanks for applying. The first step in our interview process is to dial this number and answer these two questions on this in this recording, voicemail box or on the recording." And so what's going to happen is, let's say you get 100 resumes and you send out 100 emails. I can tell you right now, only 30 people out of the 100 are going to call your voicemail box. Something like that. So right away, you've eliminated 70 people, because even knowing some of those 70 people might have had good resumes, they did not follow your first instruction to give them. So if they can't follow this instruction, that's a great screening process. So right away, you've screened people out. Now, out of the phone system that I used, I could tell when people hung up. So like I don't know what, on some voicemail boxes you won't get the hang-ups, but on my system I got the actual hang-ups. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because out of the 30 people that actually call the system, only half of those actually go through and answer the questions. So let's say that now out of the 30, only 15 people actually answer the questions. And out of those 15, regardless of their answers, the great thing about cold calling and interviewing for this is the voice tells a lot. And so right away, out of the 15 recordings that you can listen to in a matter of, what, I don't know, a very short period of time, 20 minutes, listen to 15 recordings, you can immediately filter those down to the 7 people that you would want to talk to, and then you can set those interviews with those 7 people. I know I'm kind of going into detail on that process, but the key thing here is that you're able to get to the right people. Instead of, with the other process, you end up hiring someone that you're taking more of a guess on without really going, and because you don't want to you don't want to continue to go through these resumes and make these calls. The first person that you hear that sounds decent, you end up hiring them, and that's where you end up with people that the higher level of turnover. So what this did is this allowed me to hire a lot better, higher quality people and decrease a lot more time training and dealing with turnover.